We had some accounts that was working remote. You couldn't even get a meeting. Okay, I know you're working from home. I'll meet you at a restaurant. No, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get dressed. That means I got to get home my hair.
Yeah, this can't be us. This
No.
can't be our highest selves. So one of the first things I think about is the saying, AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows how to use AI will. I think there will be a greater emphasis on.
All right, welcome to another episode of Relocation Leader. I'm your host, Zach Turbis, and today we got some really big personalities in the house. I'm really excited to invite Ben Cross from Glomo, CEO of Glomo, and Hosea Bottley, the CEO of Aversal Global. Really excited to have you guys on.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
It's an honor to be here in the studio, and you guys have the best setup in the business.
Oh, thank you. So you guys both have been on the podcast, friends of the podcast before. But for those who may have not seen the episodes that we did with you, can you give a brief summary of kind of like who you are, what your company does, and where you fit in the relocation industry?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much. CEO and founder of Glomo. Glomo is a consultancy and recruiting firm specializing in the global mobility industry. Hence the name Glomo, right? Which is a trademark, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't use it.
Hey, yeah, I see you out there. No, but anyway, that's what we do, and proud to call NEI a client. Proud to call Aversal a client, and this industry's been phenomenal to us, and it's just wonderful to be able to support it now and in this way. So the company's been around for 5 years, and growing all the time in different ways.
Yeah. Good.
Hosea Bottley, President, CEO of Aversal Global Relocation. I've been in this industry a little bit over 30 years and proud to be the owner of Aversal Global. We've been around now 8 years, so we're making a lot of strides. But Aversal, we do international and domestic relocations, household goods. We also have a freight division. We just started about 2.5 years ago. It's going well. I didn't realize how much general cargo was out there to need to be relocated and transported. So we're excited about that. And we are minority owned, certified, and service disabled veteran certified. So happy to be here, and thanks for having us.
Nice. And shout out to both you guys' teams, because I know you guys run with a phenomenal crew. So
Thank you. They do wonderful work, and they're the unsung heroes. Sometimes the ones behind the camera.
Yeah.
To do all the work. Yeah.
now you guys both have a story together, right? I mean, why don't you guys let everyone know kind of how you met each other and where you guys have gone together in the industry?
Yeah. It's a really cool story. It's a really special story. And, it started, honestly, I was in the moving business as a mover, a domestic mover, and I was in sales. And we would get all of these international inquiries from our corporate clients as well as our private transferees, right? Residential customers. And we used a variety of forwarding companies. For those of you who don't know, forwarders are international household goods movers. That's what they're called, forwarders. And we used a bunch of forwarders. We used a half dozen forwarders. And I kept going through them. I just couldn't get responses in a timely manner. It would take me a week to get quotes sometimes. The prices would be high. I couldn't win business. The information would be lacking, and I couldn't sell it. And I was just complaining one day to one of my RMC clients, frankly. And I was like, I can't find a good forwarder to save my life. And he's like, have you talked to Hosea at Aversal? And I was like, never heard of it. He's like, no, you got to meet this guy. He's really great. And so he set up a brunch at the International Association of Movers Conference in Washington, D.C. We had brunch. I found out he was a Dallas Cowboys fan. I was like, I like this guy already.
Yeah.
He's texting like me. And I was like, yeah, I'll give you a shot. At that point, I was like, I'll try anything.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, as soon as I started to send him opportunities, he had the response time, instead of taking days, it took hours. The attention to detail was there. Sometimes people have questions. They say, I'm trying to ship a motorcycle to Jordan. I heard on Reddit I could do this. I want to do it. And I'm like, Hosea, he says he can do it. Can you talk to him? And Hosea would be like, yeah, I'll talk to him, put him on the phone, and he would talk to my transferees for me and tell them about the customs regulations and stuff that I didn't even know forwarders would do, and we started winning all this business. We started winning all these corporate clients, all this residential, which is highly competitive business. We started winning all this international that we could never touch before. and it went phenomenally well, and it was a real blessing, honestly, not only from a business perspective but also personally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we built an amazing friendship, as you can tell. But no, the Dallas Cowboy thing, we was like, okay, we'll ride with that. But as I told Ben, I was like, hey, just give me an opportunity. I'll show you what we can do. And after we started working together, and he started introducing me to other clients, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is going great, But I had to show him, I had to prove myself, which is no problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. I want to show people what we can do, what we're made of. But Aversal, we have an amazing team. I mean, we got a lot of talent. And so we want to put that talent to work, and Aversal wouldn't be here without the employees that we have. I mean, they're just amazing. They're dialed in every day, even at night. I mean, we were putting together some slide decks last night at midnight, and the marketing girl in Missouri was still up, still working with us. And so
Responsible.
it's just dedication like that.
We're an industry built around talent, like the whole industry is just, it serves that purpose. What are you seeing with the influx of, remote work? That's been a thing for 5 years now. And now we're dealing with all kinds of companies trying to deal with AI and everything that means. What does the balance look like now between, local and, regional or national, international hiring? Like, what are people thinking?
Well, there's a lot of questions in there, right?
Yeah.
Because there's the whole remote work versus in office, which a lot of people have talked about. But to be honest with you, it's evolving so much constantly. It's a constantly evolving dynamic. I mean, we saw so many companies at the very beginning of this year come out with return to office mandates,
Yep.
right? Amazon did it, Walmart did it, so many large employers did it. As those large dominoes fall, other smaller dominoes begin to fall as well. When we look at, from the managed relocation industry standpoint, I think it's crucial to have that our clients are in office, or else why relocate them anywhere? But I also think, as someone who runs a company, and Hosea, I mean, I think you agree, but it's just so much more of a dynamic work environment when you have people who are in the office with you, that you can collaborate. I mean, Hosea was talking about last night, we're sitting around a table till midnight doing a presentation, and we're putting our heads together, and it's moving at the speed of
conversation,
conversation,
yeah.
Not the speed of email, not this, and that's a very different speed. And so I think, I think when I think about the ramp up time, when I think about the training time, we just onboarded 2 recruiters in our organization, and the person who's training them started as a remote employee, and it took her 2 to 3 months to make her first placement. Well, the on-site person made their first placement in a month, or got the first offer in a month, I should say. And I think some of that has to also do with the training curve, right? Because now she's sitting with these trainees literally at the same table every day. And so there's just so much opportunity for feedback, so much opportunity for coaching, so much opportunity for collaboration, so much, hey, what do you think about this? Okay. Hey, what do you think about this? Right. And it's like, we're constantly tweaking and iterating. I mean, that amount of feedback could have taken 2 weeks.
One of the things that I think that like we underestimate is, we kind of have this idea that like there are creative people in the world, and there are really creative people out there. But I think we underestimate where most of the creativity actually comes from. Like we are creative together. You know what I'm saying?
So we're not creating the whole process, but maybe you're getting a piece, you're getting
exactly,
put it all together.
It's the convergence of us, together. Like, I feel like I'm a creative person, right? But I'm nowhere near as creative as I am when I'm working with my team. Right. Like, and they'll tell you, and they're probably annoyed by it, but like I bug them all the time just to have conversations so I can think things through.
Yes,
and talk things through. Yeah. And that's how I think. And so like without them though, I'm just Zach, and I can't, we can't move forward with the same kind of velocity, with the same kind of energy without having that together. And so like, that's what I think that in talent management, you know, they may say, oh, we really need a visionary or a creative thinker or stuff like that, but they might be missing the boat, because if you're not thinking about it in terms of a team dynamic, then you may be letting your creativity die on the vine.
Great example. Operations manager, Kelly. She just moved to Seattle because she wanted to be in the office. And I tell you, having her in the office is amazing. I mean, we can communicate and get things done. We can get problem solved, shipments moving. We can have these conversations on strategy, and we're not have to pick up the phone. I don't have to jump on a Zoom. You're like there. She can walk in my office. I can walk in her office, and we're getting things done. It's moving. You know, there's some reluctance from some of the employees to come back in the office, you know, but that's going to eventually be changing, you know, because face to face, just like right now, getting out, like I was telling Ben, I can't win new business sitting in Seattle. You got to get out in front of these people and face to face. And how are they going to get to know me, trust in me, if I'm not there to have these conversations with them? So I think, Kelly, I can't thank her enough for making that move, making that leap of faith to come out to Seattle. But it has been amazing to have her, and I'm pretty sure she's happy being in the office. We get to have some great conversations, you know. But like you said, we had some accounts that was working remote before they was forced back in on the government side. You couldn't even get a meeting. Okay, I know you're working from home. I'll meet you at a restaurant. No, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get dressed. That means I got to comb my hair.
Yeah, this can't be us. This can't be our highest selves, you know, our best form, you know. And you know, and it's not going to be for everybody. But you know what I do love, you know, Hosea talked about, you know, relocating Kelly. I relocated Jillian on our team from Connecticut. We've seen some of our clients who are in the space that we recruit for, who are actually relocating talent. And I used to always joke that the reload don't reload. We don't eat our own dog food in this industry. And what does that tell us about how we believe in our own value proposition? But I've seen that starting to change. And I think that's probably the biggest endorsement for me in the relocation process, is when relocation companies are starting to actually not only espouse it, but actually put their money where their mouth is and invest in it, because that's what people really believe. You know, don't listen to what people say. You know, watch what they buy and look at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and these stories, I think, are starting to become the overwhelming narrative right now, and that is very encouraging to me.
The way that we worked for the longest time has been together, you know, and technology, the technological advancement that have allowed for remote work are still so, you know, still so new, you know, and I feel like if you're going to put all your chips on remote work, you know, against basically how we've done things for, I don't want to say time and eternity, but it's been a long time, you know, like I think you're gambling not just with, you know, how an organization might be set up, but how we're built, you know? And that's my point, is that, like, you know, who among us is going to sit there and say that we're not relational creatures? You know what I mean? And it's not just for entertainment. You know, I love talking to you guys, but, you know, the social component of, you know, what we do, it transcends just mere like friendship, right? We build things together. We do great things together, you know, but that requires that we actually be together, you know?
I just think about when I walked in this office today and I saw you in person, and I was like, Zach, you know, because I talked to you a couple of times this week leading up to this thing, but I saw you and I shook your hand and we kind of gave like a little bro hug, you know. That sounds really weird, right? But like to like physical touch, right? And be like, hey, you know, so good to see you, buddy. And like, you just feel a warmth from that and a trust, you know. I think that relationships are built on trust. I think business is built on relationships. So
yeah, I mean, it blows a phone call and a video out of the water just to shake that hand and say, hey, you know, physically look someone in the eye and say, hey, man, it's great to see you. You know, that goes a long ways.
I'm really interested in seeing kind of like the evolution of work, not necessarily from like a where are you going to work or and stuff like that, but like the productivity aspect of it all, because, you know, we have a smaller marketing team. You know, we're not huge. We have 4 people. You know, we pull from other departments in the company to collaborate and do things with. But with the influx of all these AI capabilities, I mean, we're able to dream now. feasibility is becoming a thing of the past, like questioning whether something is feasible or not. Like we're able to sort of like say, well, what could we do if we wanted to do anything? And then we run lean and we're supported by the technology now. It's a curious thing to figure out kind of like how companies are going to deal with this.
Yeah.
Do they go towards more of like a lean model in certain departments or segments, or is their industry like are they going to grow in a different way? Are they going to say like, hey, the productivity if we invest here is going to grow like wildfire? Like what is it going to be like?
Yeah, super interesting, right? So I've dabbled with some AI tools, and I've been a customer of companies that have dabbled with AI tools, right? And there's a couple of thoughts that I have as you're thinking about this. And one of the first things I think about is the saying that I've heard: AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows how to use AI will. That's one thing I think about. But the other thing I think about is I think there will be a greater emphasis on the human being because there will be so much AI noise out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but whenever I'm consuming any content online, I'm always asking myself, is this AI generated? Is this image AI generated? Is this video image AI generated? Is this post? Is this is this comment AI generated? Is this a bot behavior or whatever? And I'm filtering for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may say in the future it will be imperceptible, but I'm filtering for that, and I'm kind of rejecting it, and it's stigmatized in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of graphics that are produced by AI.
Yeah, you're getting an eye for it now too.
People use use it for their headshots a lot, and it's one thing to Facetune yourself; it's another thing to like straight up change your appearance, right? And that damages trust with me. So it's kind of the more AI that's out there, the more I'm thinking I'm looking for the human, right? And now I'm putting a premium on the human being.
Do you think that, all right, I totally agree, do you think that is sort of part and parcel of who you are though, and who you've grown to be? Or
an old man, is that what you're saying?
No. I don't think it has anything to do with age. I think that like you are a relational like figure, man, like you have built an entire career out of being relational. And so like, I totally understand your psychology when it comes to AI, that there would be an aversion to it in some ways, right?
Yeah. So maybe people who don't love people as much as I love people wouldn't care as much. Maybe that's valid. And maybe people who are AI native, maybe the next generation, Gen Alpha, who's AI native, maybe they'll feel a different type of relationship with AI, maybe a bit of a kinship or something with AI, which becomes kind of a weird, dynamic, but maybe they will.
I'm with Ben on that. I just AI can only go so far with me. I am a little bit on the older side, so
He's older than me.
Yeah,
don't say it.
but I just I mean, like you said, some of the images you see, it's like it's too perfect. It's almost fake. And it's like, okay, that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm more kind of like, I need real, I need to see the real perception, the real person, not something fake thrown in just to try to make it look good. So, and that's when it comes to just the images and all that. Even some of the writing, you see, you're pulling up stuff and you're trying to put something together. Yeah, we use AI to a certain extent, but then you have to scratch and go in. And sometimes it's more work than what it is. Just write it out. I wish I had the intelligence of being an English major like Ben and could be able to put things together as well as he does.
And I wish I was as naturally handsome as he is, right? So we might use AI for different things, But I think there's opportunities for these custom GPTs, right? So I do think this is an aspect that I'm interested in. These custom GPTs that people build to kind of bolt onto their systems, give customers information about things, around the clock. I think that's interesting, right? Because so much of our customer queries are really just, they're easy stuff like, when are my movers going to be here, or when's my house closing, whatever, so there's that facet of it, and that's pretty flat, easy stuff that I think is here now, really. And then there's more analytical stuff where we're using on the back end to analyze the transfer data maybe that we have and say, okay, where are people moving? Why are they moving there? And start to forecast things and start to kind of become better providers for our clients, because we're able to kind of predict things. I see AI making the predictive analytics, a reality that we kind of talked about. The big data boom that we went through a while back, I think is actually finally starting to kind of be here now with the advent of AI. So I think that's an opportunity. I don't see AI as much taking over in the replacing the human. I see it doing a lot of the analytical homework that using large data sets that maybe we just can't do.
I just like to think of it as like my Jarvis, like Iron Man. But I think we all know the answer, right? What we all know is that, or what we all want to believe AI is here for, is to be our sidekick, right? But to not be the main character,
Yeah.
and like how we get there, we're all really groping and trying to figure out how we get there. But I don't think we're really that confused on what the goal is here. But what I'm kind of curious is, we're in relocation. What does that mean for our industry, though? If that's the goal, we're all trying to work towards there. Hopefully, we do get there. What does that mean for the future of work, the future of relocation, the future of working together on big things?
I think the way that we deliver service is going to change a little bit. I think the types of services that we deliver, there's an opportunity to become more strategic and more consultative in what we do. Heretofore, the relocation industry has been primarily transactional, reactive. You're moving, I will get you a mover. You are selling your house, I will get you a realtor, that type of stuff, right? I would like to see us consulting more with the business to say, not how are you going to move these people to another place, but what place should you move them to and why? And what are the advantages from a native talent standpoint? What are the advantages from a tax standpoint? And be able to really do some of the really smart, valuable work that's upstream quite a bit from where we are. How often have you heard people in our industry complain that they want a seat at the table, that they want more relevance in their organization? Global mobility managers that I talk to are constantly talking about the fact that they don't have as much say-so as they want, that they don't get to make decisions. In fact, when I talk to suppliers, a lot of them say, the global mobility managers aren't the decision makers. It's getting hijacked by procurement or compliance, or all of a sudden you'll be the best and final and somebody else will swoop in from another stakeholder who's not even been a part of the process. And they'll go with someone totally, maybe wasn't even involved in the whole RFP at all. And you're wondering why that is. It's because we're not going upstream enough. We're not in the right rooms. And I think there's an opportunity to act more like consultants and advise organizations on their global talent strategy and not just the logistics of moving people around.
Honestly, I just think our industry is a old school. It doesn't move very fast. I mean, it doesn't make changes that quick, especially when it comes to like just automation, so I don't see AI really doing too much in our industry anytime soon. I mean, some people will use it, but not the way you would see it from a tech industry point of view.
It's been slow to move. I agree with you. It's been slow to move because we're tied to old revenue models.
Oh yeah.
Right. When we look at the way that money is made in this business, right? Home sales has been the number one revenue generator, followed by household goods, followed by temp living, and that's how we've made money. That's what keeps the lights on, right? And we need to, I think, re-engineer a little bit around what our companies actually do and the services they provide. I think you should have always like a little 5 to 10% R&D budget, and you should always be kind of skunk working out, different cool stuff over here and developing in the background and testing and bringing clients in and kind of beta testing different products and services that you can do. But I think that's where we have to go, because ironically, I look at big four consulting firms. I look at a lot of these really smart organizations that are starting to get into global mobility, and they're coming up with these fancy charts and all this data. And I'll be honest with you, some of it's junk. Honestly, the questions they're doing, that they're asking, the
analysis that they're providing, it's not good because it's not grounded in an understanding of what's happening. But because they have so much credibility in the marketplace, they're selling it for such a premium.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas we have all this institutional knowledge, but we just don't know how to go market the stuff that they're doing. So I think I would love to see the more traditional players in our industry start to understand how to become better.
Well, what's interesting for me is like the industry, if you look at it, it's almost like a hive mind a little bit of, like the RMC and the suppliers, the way we source knowledge and the way we get that knowledge to the clients, we need you, we need Aversal, we need all our suppliers, and like, whereas like these consulting firms, they go out and do a lot of their own research, we have this web of connectivity, right? That is immediate to all of the needs that are, taking place. And there's a flow of information that we sort of curate and get back to the client, and I don't know, like, what would you say to that? Like, as far as, is that going to change, or do you think that's where it's at? Like, that's what needs to stay?
Well, I think you have to do what you've been doing because you have to support the business that you have now, but you at the same time have to develop in parallel with that, and disrupt yourself a little bit, right? I was watching, I went to a conference one time and Captain Sully Sullenberger, the Miracle on the Hudson guy, that plane, right? He talked about that. And I was like, what is this pilot telling me about business strategy and disruption? But he's like, it's called disruption when somebody does it to you, first of all. Second of all, you have to disrupt yourself before somebody else does it. And I think that's hard to do because we come to work every day and we make the donuts, right? And nobody's thinking about the bagels because that's not what we do, right? But we got to be thinking about that because otherwise the bagel shop's going to open up down the street. And I think that we have to be thinking ahead, and talking to our customers about what other adjacent services they buy and starting to create businesses around that. And I'll tell you one thing I learned in starting my own business is don't create a product that nobody wants. Find somebody that will pay you for it, and then you have a business. And that's what that's what I did with Hosea, right? I found something that I was good at that someone would pay me for, that I enjoyed. And then I had a business. And then it was time to, find more of that and follow product market fit. And I think that that's what we need to do. We need to go to our clients and we need to ask them what other services they would pay for. And we need to form businesses around that. I think we have to be thinking about things like that. And I think it's really important to stay in front of your customers. And what I would say to any CEO or leader out there is stay in front of your customer. Start having a lot of what if conversations with your customer. Don't just ask, hey, how are we doing? Start thinking about, hey, what else is going on? How's business? What are the challenges do you have? Start having those deeper conversations. And guess what? Those conversations are best had in person, over a meal, glass of wine, something like that, where you can really get comfortable. Sometimes those conversations take 3-4 hours to have. It's not a 30-minute Zoom call. It's a, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's have a drink. Let's catch up. Like, let's really open up about, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
What's keeping you up? Like, what do you feel like you might lose your job over? What's happening at work? And then now we can solve those because we have all these tools.
My guess is that, some people know, like, they hear you say that and they're like, yes, that's true. That's how business is done, And then there's people like, I have a bunch of young kids at my house and traveling all over the world like you guys, that's tough, And so, like, I'm sure someday, I may get there, I may not. But, like, there may be people who hear that and it doesn't resonate because they're just maybe not there. When you learn to code, not that I have a great extensive background in coding, right? But code engineers, right, when they learn how to code, it trains their mind to think in a certain way, right? And who says that the way that their mind was trained to think is not going to be valuable even if coding goes away? You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Very.
Interesting question is, would you advise a young person to get into the global mobility field?
Absolutely. If you think about it, like, if you one of my favorite places I've never been to is Greece, And if somebody offered me an opportunity to nomad in Greece for a year, with my family, I might just jump at that, And it's like, this world is incredible, crazy, and like, we don't even know what the future of incentives look like in work yet. Are they going to offer that stuff because it matters to those people? Are they going to set up a satellite office with 4 people who want to live in Italy for a year, so that they can keep collaboration going? And, like, I don't think we know the answer to that question yet.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. The desire for travel, I think, is at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the desire to be somewhere else, everywhere, experience things is higher than I've ever seen it before. I think the openness to live in other places is higher than I've ever seen it in my short life before. I think so. Then, therefore, what bridges that gap? The how, right? And well, that's where we come in, right? And but the difference is, this is not going to be. I don't believe this is going to be company sponsored. I think it's going to be individually dictated. And how do we, as a managed relocation industry, who has been a B2B industry from its inception, change and evolve and cater to consumers or making those self-directed kind of decisions?
What would keep it in corporate's purview, though? So,
well, first of all, tax incentives.
Okay.
So we saw here in the United States in 2017, the tax incentive for the moving expense deduction was removed, right? So the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the moving expense deduction was removed, and now all of a sudden relocation expenses became taxable as income to the employee. So there then was not the same degree of benefit, the financial benefit that there was for an employer to pay for it and use companies, use their own vendors. So that was a big one. So we need that to come back. I mean, frankly, moving expenses should not be a taxable as income.
Yeah.
If a company pays you, it's like a company pays you to fly here. I'm not going to put that on your W-2. Like, come on.
So there's still job openings for lobbyists, is what you're saying?
There really ought to be. There really needs to be. So I think taxes is a big part. I think if the immigration standpoint, if visas and things of that nature, so right now you're seeing these digital nomad visas, you're seeing all these visas for individuals, I think that is making it more consumer driven. It used to be that you had to have a job to go somewhere, right? And now you just have to be rich or self-employed, right? Because self-employed is kind of a new major category. It used to be an exception. Now it's kind of becoming the rule in a lot of ways. The gig economy is here. I remember when Peggy Smith, the former CEO of Worldwide ERC, was coming out. She's like, "Oh, the gig economy's coming, and then 40% of people are going to be gig workers by 2030 or whatever the numbers were." I'm like, "Peggy, like, put the wine down. You're crazy." Like, and she was right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't want to believe it. Because I'm like, that's just bizarre. That's bananas. Like, what are you talking about? But now we're seeing the workforce is so fragmented. So I think that compliance is big. I think tax is big, and I think those are areas that we need to be leaning into. And it's not areas that the managed relocation industry has traditionally leaned into. Tax and compliance and immigration law have been different legs of the global mobility stool than relocation. And I think those firms have been more aggressive at growing their scope than maybe the relocation management companies have been in growing their scope into those other areas. So I think there's a growth opportunity there.
I just can't wrap my head around the times where we're at right now. And sometimes I'm waking up and I'm like, okay, we're good to go. And then some days I'm waking up going, what is going on here? How do we get here? But as I said earlier, this is just a moment, and I think we'll push through it. It's just some changes do need to be made, and I think the tax and the immigration is definitely two things that just need to be overhaul off,
Yeah. And I'm not saying like less regulation necessarily. I think in business, we tend to be, deregulate, less regulation, as a pro business stance.
Yeah, Wild West.
And what I've found and looking at this is every time we reduce regulation and we're actually reducing barriers to entry.
Mm.
And that's when all of these other disruptors and rogue players come in. The moving industry is a really good example of this, right? So deregulation happened in 1980, and all of a sudden now, anyone could kind of become an interstate mover, whereas before you had to have authority from the Interstate Commerce Commission. And so now there was this proliferation of all these movers that came, right? And so the rate went from 100% of tariff down to like 33% of tariff, right? So it really reduced the price. Now that's great for consumers, right? But then what happened now with the information age is now anybody that says they're a mover can be a mover. It's not like a real estate, realtor, right? But in order to be a realtor, you have to be a member of NAR, right? You have to, that's a trademark. You have to pay your dues. You have to pass classes. You have to be licensed. If you want to be a mover, you just say, I'm a mover.
Yeah,
and
I got a truck.
Yeah, you don't even have to have a truck. Here's the funny part. If you go on Yelp right now and you put in movers, three of the folks on the first page are just dudes that'll load your container, dudes that'll load your rental truck.
And we've all needed those dudes at one time or another.
Sure, dudes are great. I've moved every way you can move, right? But there's no way that a 5-star couple of dudes to load your truck is the same as a 5-star, award-winning mover is the same as a 5-star fully integrated relocation company. These are not the same.
Not the same.
And yet we conflate them on the internet. And there's no one saying that you can't just call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. It needs to go beyond just being semantics, I think, right?
And that's where the trust comes back in, getting in front of people, like you said. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. We love when you guys come to Omaha. And man, I love having you guys on the podcast. Such a great conversations. And I just want to thank you for coming on to Relocation Leader.
Yeah, thanks. It's an honor being here.
Yeah, absolute honor. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.
Cool. Do you have anything you want to plug?
I just want to say, keep watching Love and Reload. We appreciate you guys out there that watch and support it. We've been doing it for over 5 years now. We've done over 700 episodes of it, and we wouldn't have a show without people tuning in and checking it out and deciding to share their story on our platform. So thank you so much, and I love what you're doing here, Zach.
Thanks. Anything you want to mention?
I just want to say thanks to NEI for continuing to support Reversal. We definitely appreciate it. You guys are amazing.
Thanks. That's another episode of Relocation Leader. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you back in 2 weeks.